Perfume brands must hate them.
And
They're like, you know, there's adverts. It's like perfume industry hates
one
simple trick.
Welcome back to the channel, Samuel Macer.
Hey.
Hooray! We got Sam back on the channel. We got.
Hooray! Is that something you say in all the videos?
Yeah.
It's like a special occasion.
That's my catchphase. Hooray! We're back with another perfume video. You guys have to watch us again. So Samuel Macer, you are the independent perfumer of the UK who has his own channel that explores technical perfumery and the raw materials and blending.
That's the one.
That's the one. So guys, if you haven't checked out his channel, make sure you do. Today, Sam, I thought we'd do a fun video about clone fragrances.
Yeah, okay.
Do you know about clone fragrances? What do you know about them?
Yeah, so what I know about them is I've seen like 1,000 and another 1,000 separate companies on Instagram who are all like trying to make quick bucks by making their own clone fragrance brand, where they essentially buy like cheap mass-produced fragrance oils that are just kind of like duplicates of common fragrances on the market, like popular ones like Sauvage, Baccarat Rouge, right?
Do you respect these brands? Do you respect them?
As like an artist, a creator, the idea of someone else like ripping off your work feels really bad. Yeah. Right? It's like definitely like not a good thing. In that sense, it's like, you know, if you make a piece of art, it should kind of be like, it's kind of yours. I don't know, it's like disingenuous, it feels like, for someone just to try to make the same thing. Yeah. However, there's a couple of caveats which I think make it not quite so bad. So one of the caveats is that usually these clone fragrances, they never can really get like that close. Like you can normally tell at least that there's a difference. And that's because there are tiny things they put in, like specific naturals or things you just can't really detect on the analysis. So it's usually like pretty impossible to exactly reconstruct it. Yeah. And then it's like, well, you know, if you've got a famous artwork, like a Mona Lisa, well, if you can at least have like a photocopy of it, you know, not everyone can afford the Mona Lisa, or like there's only one of them, right? So it's like, on one level, it's kind of maybe okay to have something that's kind of close, right? Because you shouldn't be able to like completely say, oh, this kind of perfume is completely mine, and no one else is allowed to do anything like it. And the other big thing is like the pricing, because some of these perfume brands, I don't know if you've seen the Baccarat Rouge one. Yeah. They charge these ridiculous prices. It's like £300 or something for a bottle. For Baccarat Rouge, yeah. And if you actually look at the dupe formula, you can see the cost of the stuff inside it is nowhere near that much. Like they're absolutely rinsing you for profits on the markup they put on the bottle. Like there's cheaper perfumes that are like a quarter of the cost, that probably cost just as much to produce. So it makes you look at it and you think, well, if you're getting ripped off by some of these brands anyway, then at that point it's kind of like, well, it's a bit more fair, right? That someone's making a very similar smell for a regular price. So I'm on the fence. There's two things. I agree. I think most clone brands don't get it that close, actually. I think most of the time you can tell they're a cheaper dupe. But I will say, yes, I agree. Some fragrances, I wouldn't personally want to go for Baccarat Rouge. Personally, I'd go for something more like one of the fragrances we'll see in this video today, but also something like Bulgari's Tiger, which is quite a simple, like, I'm not sure if you've tried that fragrance, like grapefruit, some sandalwood molecules, and some Broxen. It's very simple, and then you see the clones, and when the clone gets it very similar, that's when you can tell it's probably not that pricey, maybe. And today's video is basically going to be covering that. So 4 different pairings of clones versus original, where you're going to do a blind test. You don't know which one's which, and I'm going to see if you can tell the difference. But I think some clones are so good and excellent, sometimes they can actually replace the original, and you can think to yourself, okay, maybe you're right, maybe they are overpriced and they're ripping you off. So shall we see what this experiment entails? Let's go do it.
And you guys will see throughout this video, we're going to sort of try out both of our new releases, because you've done a recent rebranding, haven't you, for your brands? Yeah,
new rebranding. So my perfume brand, previously Luxitera, is now called Jura.
Nice.
So
Aquatica, is that what it's called?
Yes, that's the new perfume. My only release this year for my own brand, so
I'm
kind of hyped about it.
Cool. We'll try it out. I'll do a first spray, first impression of it, and we'll see how it is, and then you'll try Mr. Majestic. Ooh, what an interesting name.
Sounds pretty royal.
It's very royal. Cool, let's begin. Okay, Sam, I have sprayed the first 2 fragrances, the original versus the pair. I'm gonna mix them up so we don't know which one's which.
I don't even know what the perfume is as well. So
smell each one. Don't look at the letters at the back. Just look. Yeah, keep it at the front like that, and then smell.
Oh, wow, they are pretty close.
They are pretty close. Yes, I agree. Which one would you say is the original? Which one would you say is the clone?
So I would say this is the original.
This is the original. Okay.
And I would say that's a clone. But I mean, it's hard to know, right? Which one, what it's meant to be like.
They are very close, aren't they? What makes you say this is the original?
I just feel like that one is a little bit brighter.
Okay.
A bit more, like the other one, I just felt a little bit more flat.
Okay. Okay, fine. What do you think?
Hard to know, like, because it's you don't know what the perfume is trying to do, but.
What do you think the price difference is?
So obviously, like, I don't know which is better, because honestly, I find with the clones, it's normally in the hard to dry down, that the clones start to fall apart. Often in the top notes, the clones do quite well. Okay. But yeah, let's say just between a clone and an original, I don't know, like maybe the original would be like, I don't know, like £100, and the clone could be like, I don't know, 35.
35, brutal. That's quite interesting.
I mean, that's just more like how much that they cost, right?
Yeah, you don't know this DNA. You don't know the price tag for these, but like that says a lot about this fragrance. This is Tom Ford Oud Wood.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's quite interesting. He's gave it £100, so maybe it is overpriced, but yeah, usually it's like £170 for 50 ml Oud Wood.
Right. It doesn't smell like oud at all. It smells like.
Well, yeah. Well, that's another point. Yes. Well, this is the thing with Tom Ford. They
smells like kind of a lot of ISV super, like a bit of ethyl maltol.
I think most people don't suspect it's a real oud fragrance. It's more like a woody molecules kind of fragrance. But so this is actually an example of. I kind of thought I'd trick you out with the first pairing. They're actually similarly priced fragrances. Okay. So this is Tom Ford's Oud Wood and then Thameen's Carved Oud.
It's not just one of those like really cheap clone brands, right?
No,
it's like more of a copycat fragrance.
Yeah, so I would still consider it a clone. It's definitely trying to rip off Oud Wood, but it's still a pricey fragrance that is based on a brand that is usually mostly original creations, from what I believe, but it's similarly priced.
That makes sense then, because like honestly, I didn't feel like while you can smell them a little bit different, it didn't smell like one was like a lot cheaper. So it makes sense actually.
Bear in mind, this is my original like gold sticker bottle of Oud. This is the older formulation, which was probably richer and nicer anyway. So maybe it's an unfair comparison. The newer bottles, the issue of Oud now is it doesn't last as long. It's probably not as rich, and that's why maybe Carved Oud isn't as good as I would say it's not as good as the original formulation of Oud Wood, but it's probably better than the current one. It lasts a lot longer. That's the reason I recommend it to people. But
so which one was which?
So you were correct.
I was right. Okay, cool.
Nice. Your nose picked it up. Now we're going to go into a more interesting pairing. Right. But first, let's try out your fragrance.
Try out the new fragrance.
Aquatica. Whilst I'm spraying it, you tell us about it.
So this one's first, it's inside these new travel wallets, which I've got, which I think are really nice because they're like, you want to bring your perfume away. But yeah, so this is really an aquatic fragrance. So this is the first time I've tried like a really watery aquatic perfume. And the idea behind this is I was just playing with the aquatic notes and I found some kind of special like aquatic note combinations. And I was thinking, what if I just make a pure like watery aquatic fragrance? And the idea is it's this kind of fresh sea breeze air, almost like some Mediterranean citrus and, like the nice kind of trees you get. And then it's, apart from that, really just super watery aquatic. It's kind of like mostly kind of an ocean aquatic. And then you've also got these kind of nice woody notes that it dries down into. So you've got wood from the cypress tree, which is a really special raw material. It's one of my favorites. You've got a really nice high quality cypress absolute and essential oil, both from France. And then you've got some kind of light musks finishing off. So yeah, that's my... Nice. I think you would call it a blue fragrance, this kind of thing, right?
Yeah, you want my honest opinion on this?
Yeah?
Yeah, we'll put the notes on hopefully on B-roll as well, but I think this smells like a traditional blue, fresh out of the shower kind of fragrance that is aquatic as well. Not all aquatics are blue and not all blues are aquatic, but I think it does definitely get a mixture of those two. It smells like a traditional kind of fragrance like that, but made artisanal. I think someone who's looking for a slightly minty aquatic. I know you said it's
minty,
I think it has like a minty freshness to it, probably from the cypress.
It must be the cypress,
and it smells like it'll last a good amount of time.
Yeah, it lasts quite well as well, actually. Yeah, and I mean the general aquatic fragrances, the notes you put inside them, stuff like Cologne, they usually do a good job at both projecting quite well and lasting a fair amount of time. So.
This is nice. This kind of reminds me of like the Ralph Lauren, like the Polar Blue series back in the 2000s, but I kind of feel like you modernized it and brought it now to 2023. So this is kind of cool. This is really cool.
I haven't even smelled that.
Yeah, and you haven't
smelled it now, so.
Yeah, no, but that's kind of the vibe I'm getting. So I think definitely. So where can people get that from? Where can people get this from?
So this fragrance is available on my new website, Zero. So I've just rebranded my perfume brand Luxe Terra into a new brand, Zero. So you can find that. I'll put a link in the description.
Yes.
Hopefully. So now, if you are in the US or Canada and you want to get a hold of this, I'm doing my second ever US Canada shipment. So essentially, at the moment, the way it works with perfume shipping is a bit tricky for me. So I ship those, and I found a person who can essentially do these kind of limited shipments for me, where I send a load of perfumes to their warehouse under the special dangerous goods shipping, and they can ship them out to you guys. So at the moment, I'm selling this and also a bundle of all my old perfumes with a new one as well, for anyone that's interested. And pre-orders for those close on November the 19th.
Fantastic. Link in the description below, guys. Fresh, clean, crisp, daily scent. I think all age groups can rock this. It's very nice. Well done, man. Well done. We got 2 paper strips here.
Interesting.
Do you know this DNA?
It rings a bell. Like, it smells definitely like something I've smelled before. It's funny because it reminds me of something when I used to work at florists. They used to have a perfume that smelled like this.
I wouldn't.
But I'm sure it's not.
I would not be surprised, honestly.
So I feel like this is the clone and this is the real one.
Let me have a look. You think this is the clone?
Yeah.
And this is the real one?
So again, it's like a similar thing from before. The one I thought was a clone smells a bit flatter, whereas the real one, like kind of citrus note, like grapefruity note, or it's got this kind of it's more full, rounded, like a bit sweeter. It's just brighter, it just shines a bit more. And like usually, not always, but usually that's the sign of like where clones just don't quite hit the spot.
How much difference would you say is between these two?
Not that much. I mean, when I think of difference, I think, it's quite close, like, 90% similar, something like that. 90, 95.
You're very much correct. Well done. You got it right. This is Creed Aventus.
Oh, really?
And that's why when you said Florist probably has a DNA similar to this, it's probably, I think
sense.
pretty much every single brand has something that's either a clone or inspired by this DNA, because obviously I'm not sure if you know about it, it's very popular.
It's like popular, yeah. So I think when you said that, like the Aventus's price isn't like a couple of hundred or something?
A few hundred, yeah. And how much do you think the clone is?
And I've seen the clones going online for like, like 20 to 50 quid, so I'd put it in that range. Okay, I imagine.
That's right, yeah. So the Haramain L'Aventure is like a £30, 30 to £40 fragrance. Which, if you know about those two different price tags, which one would you say is more worth it? Because you said they're fairly close, but just, I know what you mean. Clones often have this issue of not getting the right texture.
Yeah, the thing is, like, it depends who you are. Like, if you're someone and you don't have a load of money and you want a kind of Aventus perfume, then by all means go with the clone. If you do have the money and you just really want like the full kind of
experience,
you want to buy into the brand and everything, then I would go for the real one. It just depends a bit about you and where you are. You're
right. I think it has that nice boldness to it, but at the same time, I find with my bottle of Aventus, it doesn't last that long. It's like 4 to 6 hours, whilst the clone lasts longer.
Interesting.
Which is annoying, but
so must have been something else.
Which is why I hate on Creed Aventus quite a lot. But hey ho, let's move on.
Yeah.
All right, sir, you are one of the first non-public reaction people smelling our next release. Called Mr. Majestic. Let us know. This is the one that people have pre-ordered. And
awesome. Oh, that's interesting.
Okay.
Crazy. So it's cool. It's got like a kind of fuzzy muskiness to it, and it's got these like nice radiant fruity notes. It's got a nice sweetness. It's kind of almost like a nice kind of ambery, fruity cocktail. Like red fruits, that kind of thing. And it's quite unusual as well, which I think is good.
Good. That's exactly what we want, yeah.
I
don't care if not everyone loves the fragrance we make, because you can't please everyone anyways, but I must insist that it has to be something creative.
I like that kind of composition, because that's the kind of composition you just don't really smell too much.
Yeah.
So it's nice.
We'll have the notes on screen, but what the fruits you're smelling is meant to be very much focused around plum. This fragrance. This is the main thing.
I get plum notes from it. Does it have like labdanum in as well?
Labdanum, well done.
That's what it really. For me, it really feels like plum, labdanum, and musk. So like the main, at least for me, like the prominent notes, and they go nicely together. So
it is like nice plum, sandalwood, iris, ambery kind of fragrance.
Interesting. Yeah.
So it's got a unique and new take on plum. Plum often does go into a more dark direction, but this kind of does it in a new way in itself. So hopefully you guys will like it.
Awesome.
Let's move on to the next pair.
Congrats.
So this next one, I think you probably will get a difference, but it's still an interesting pairing. I think a lot of people would like to see. So you can take these two and smell them one by one. Do you know this DNA?
No, but it's quite nice, to be fair.
It's quite nice of you. Fair enough, yeah.
It's like marshmallowy, like...
Marshmallow.
I don't know, like strawberry kind of vanilla-y, like marshmallowy, I don't know. So I would say this is the real one, and this is the clone.
this is the real one and this is the clone.
I would say so.
What makes you say that?
The reason is because when you smell between them enough times, the original one, every time you go back to smelling that, keeps its like strength and complexity, whereas the clone, well, what I think is the clone, I mean it might not be, but the other one seems to kind of, it doesn't, you don't smell it as strongly, and usually there's a thing called olfactory fatigue. I wouldn't go into it.
Nose blindness kind of
nose
thing.
blindness, yeah. Usually you find with the clones you get nose blind to them quicker compared to the real ones.
Oh, interesting. Why is that?
Well, I don't know quite why, but it's probably something to do with usually the real ones have a higher complexity.
Okay.
And they have like often more just little tiny, naturals or little bits of molecules that aren't necessarily present in the clones. I'm not sure, but I believe it's that slight increase in complexity gives your nose like more things to hook onto.
How close would you say they are? If you had to give it like a percentage.
Honestly, on the initial smell, I really thought those were pretty close. But then as I smelled into them, they started diverging. So again, you want to see in the dry down, but yeah, I felt they were quite close, like 95%.
95%.
Yeah.
That's impressive. Yeah, and first to you, this video I've really tried to go for the really close.
Yeah, these are pretty close.
It's pretty close, cool, because I've done my job well, and you're correct. You're doing your job well, because yes, again,
that's cool.
I think maybe it's, as you say, the nuance and then the richness of the texture of the original is Parfums de Marly's Layton. Have you heard of that fragrance?
No, I haven't heard of it.
Very good brand. I highly recommend you look into them. But now bear in mind, Parfums de Marly's Layton is around £250, whilst the clone Haramain Detour Noir is about £20 to £30. What makes you, how will that affect your opinion now you know the price difference?
I'd say it's similar to before, right, with the Creed one?
With Creed Aventus, yeah.
But I mean, it's like such a big price difference that, I mean, I don't know. I think if you're a fan of Perfume de Marly, and you want the real stuff, then you get the real one. And if you got the money for it. But if you just want that kind of smell roughly, you just don't care about all those little things. I mean, with that price difference, I just don't see why you wouldn't get the clone. I mean, assuming it keeps going for the whole duration.
They both have good longevity, similar longevity, I'd say, and I would agree. I'd say for people who aren't crazy about the latent DNA but still want to have it in their collection but don't want to spend an arm and a leg, I think Detour Noir is an extremely good option. But yes, as you said, latent is probably the best version for people who really want to go max out on that DNA. Agreed. Cool. Last pairing now. Ready?
Yeah, cool.
Let's do it. All right. This last pairing, I think I've saved the most difficult one for last. Okay. I am very much impressed by what you're going to experience now.
Well, that smells nice. It's like a Christmassy smell.
Yeah, fair enough.
It's like cloves and cinnamon. It smells like nutmeg and ethyl vanillin.
Okay.
Together. I don't know if there's actually nutmeg, but
yeah. So you're getting some spices,
a lot of spicy notes and vanilla.
Cool.
I gotta say, these two are like extremely
They're very difficult. hard
to tell. So I feel like potentially this one's a real.
Okay.
Potentially.
You think this is the real one and this is the fake?
Yeah, but the difference is so small. Yeah, I mean it could be either. Like that's what I thought. Like just like an instinct. I'm literally guessing here. It's not.
This is how difficult it is.
Yeah, it's really difficult.
I agree. I think it's very difficult. Even just smelling.
But it's a really nice perfume, to be fair, as well. So this is kind of cool.
Oh, nice.
Let's find out what this is.
So this DNA is Tom Ford's Tobacco Vanille.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Have you heard of that fragrance?
I've heard of it, but I've never smelled it, so that's interesting.
It's a very popular classic fragrance. One of the forefront bestsellers of the brand when Tom Ford came to the scene and their private blend line went crazy. Of course, Oud Wood is very popular, so is Tobacco Vanille, and it's crazy. You've done it so well in this video. You did the first three correct, and this last pairing, I can confirm, you got this wrong actually.
Did I?
Yeah, and I don't blame you. That's why I saved the hardest one for last. I think this is what I say in my videos. I say Haramain's Tobacco Edition, I think kind of makes the original redundant because when you look at the price difference, I think how
much is the Haramain one?
The price range always changes, but for like 100 ml, I think it's like £40 to £50.
Oh really?
Tobacco
Vanille,
great, yeah. Tobacco Vanille is like close to 200.
Yeah, in that case, I just think Haramain.
What's the point of doing the original? Yeah.
Who's Haramain? Is this the brand that's been doing like all these clones?
Yeah, we've had a few. Oh, actually, three of the actually, I just realised 3 of the clone phrases are all Haramain. So Detour Noir, L'Aventure.
Man, the perfume brands must hate them. They're like, there's adverts. It's like perfume industry hates one simple trick on this one.
Yeah, brand. What's the first clone? The first clone was Thameen. I say in my videos, you don't need to get tobacco, even though Tobacco Vanille, in my opinion, doesn't smell. It's not a fragrance you think, it smells cheap. But this is what I'm saying.
They both smell really nice. But I mean, I could barely distinguish them, honestly.
Because we said this about Oud Wood, like they weren't using real oud, and that's what I kind of think here. Sometimes the private blend line is a lot of hype, and they get away with using maybe cheaper stuff that doesn't necessarily justify the £200 price tag. I think this might be a perfect example of this.
I mean, you can smell tobacco in both of these, actually, to be fair.
But is tobacco particularly expensive?
Yeah, it is. Like tobacco, normally for a good tobacco smell, as far as I'm aware, you want to use tobacco absolute, which is extracted by solvent extraction from real tobacco, like
tobacco leaf.
Actual,
Do you think they've used that here, tobacco absolute, or do you think they've used something?
Tobacco absolute comes in like different qualities, like a lot of natural, so you can get cheaper tobacco absolute,
of course,
which is like a bit expensive, or you can get really nice quality, like tobacco absolute produced by really fine quality people, and you can smell a bit of a difference for sure, but that stuff can get really expensive. At the end of the day, they both smell very similar and they both smell very nice. So, I mean,
they both smell luxurious.
I
think one of them is like 1/5 of the price, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, from what I've smelled so far, I'm gonna have to go with Al Haramain on this one.
Nice.
I feel like, honestly, from what I've heard, like I don't know much about Tom Ford, but I really feel like from the things I've smelled and the stuff I've heard, it seems like they're just a rip-off brand, like going for like rich people.
Maybe nowadays, but I will give it to them. Tobacco Vanille was their creation, so as we said before in the beginning, we got to respect the artistry and the originality. But there we go. That concludes this video. What were your thoughts about today's experiments?
It was interesting, right? Like none of these. Well, especially that last one was really tricky. But I think it just goes to show, especially a lot of these clones compared to some of the other ones I smelled, these were mostly pretty good, right? So.
Yeah, in fairness, I did choose ones that are a bit more tricky.
I think, especially with these ones, there's like a case to buy either way, right? Depending on who you are, how much money you have, exactly what you want out of a perfume.
So you're quite happy that clone fragrances exist as an option? Is that your?
I think the way it's done now is kind of like alright, because I mean it's kind of almost like the fact that there could be a clone also is a kind of a good reason for the brands to keep themselves honest.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the clones aren't that accurate usually. That you can normally always tell a difference.
Yeah.
So it means that you do have a genuine choice between the original and you getting the actual proper like real products, like the the real deal, as opposed to something which maybe it's a bit worse or a bit different. But then it could be a lot cheaper. So it's like buying Sainsbury's Basics sometimes versus the.
Whoa, you don't need to call out Sainsbury's like that, man. Yeah.
No, but it's good. Like, depends what you want. It depends who you are, where you are in your life, where you are with your finances.
That's a good
option. Sometimes it can be a really good option, and then sometimes you don't want that. Sometimes you want the like full thing.
Cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for watching, guys. Make sure to check out the video we did on Sam's channel where he attempts to clone popular fragrances and he gets me to try them and see if I can tell the difference. I think that's a pretty good video. So, guys, go watch that video. Thank you for watching.
All right, thank you.
Bye.